Hello, friends from across the nation and around the world. I'm Martin, and you are listening to Dad's Bedtime Stories, the show that takes listener ideas and turns them into bedtime stories. Let's see what ideas we have today here.
Hi, I'm Noah, and I would like a story about a submarine summer camp where you use gems to upgrade your submarine to defeat the Bloop. And a Bloop is a giant fish. Bye, I love your podcast. Thank you.
Alright, so Submarine Summer Camp coming right up. Now, before we get started, I do have just a couple of announcements. Number one, in last week's episode, there was a person who wrote in suggesting an idea, and I couldn't hear her name. Luckily, her dad wrote in and let me know that it is Magali, although I'm still not sure if I'm saying it right. So, shout out to Magali and Bo from Regina, Saskatchewan. I really appreciate the ideas. Last, if you want to know more about me, well, I was recently on another podcast called 5 Random Questions with host Danny Brown. So if you search up 5 Random Questions, the most recent one, assuming you go right away, is an interview with yours truly. Basically, he asks me 5 random questions. There was no way to prepare for the thing, and I answer to the best of my ability. So if you want to know more about my life and things like that, just head on over there. It's honestly a really fun podcast. I really enjoyed being on it. Last, I just need to catch up on some of my shout-outs to new Patreon sponsors. So first off, shout out to Elliot and Owen from Toronto. I've been to Toronto a whole bunch of times. Thank you as well to Luke Turner. And last, to Axel, Linus, and Levi. Patreon is honestly the main thing keeping me alive these days because getting sponsorships for kids' podcasts are really hard, it turns out. So, if you want to join Patreon, it means a lot to me. But now, it's that time again. Time to get as comfy as you can in that bed, close your eyes, and imagine yourself doing what the kid in the story does. You wake up to a strange beeping sound. You look around and you realize that you're on spaceship. Alert! There is an incoming message from the summer camp planet. Would you like me to put it through to you? Spaceship asks. Yeah. Put it on the screen in here. At the end of your bed, built into the wall, is a large screen. One you've almost never noticed before. It suddenly lights up, and you see a familiar face. Your friend Pip. Hi there, Pip says. I'm just wondering, is there any chance you plan on coming back to the summer camp planet? Because I kind of found this really cool summer camp, but it has a minimum of 2 people, and I don't want to be hooked up with some rando. Oh, what is it, you ask? Well, it's like this submarine summer camp where you have to go on adventures and do battle and stuff like that. It's so fun, or at least it looks so fun. That does sound fun. I'll be there in a few minutes. Really? Alright, well, I'll meet you on sub number 4. That's the one they gave me anyways. Alright, got it, you say. The transmission ends. You get dressed as quickly as you can, grab your duffel bag that's already ready for summer camp adventures, and head out to the main part of the ship. Spaceship, you say. I'm going to go on another summer camp adventure. Mind bringing the portal up? Understood, Spaceship says. And the portal rises up out of the ground, a large circular thing. Then it begins to glow with blue energy that looks kind of like flowing water. You jump through the portal and find yourself flying through a very colorful wormhole, one that bends left, right, up, and down, before eventually shooting you out the other side, in the parking lot of the summer camp planet. Good thing Spaceship set that up earlier on. It's become rather convenient. You run into the main building, where you're of course met by a salesperson who wants to sell you another summer camp adventure.
Welcome again to the summer camp planet. I remember seeing you before. Which camp are you interested in this time?
Well, my friend said he wanted to meet me on the Submarine Summer Camp, Submarine 4, you say?
Ah, let me check my notes. Oh, yes, I see you have a spot already reserved. Please come with me.
The lady leads you out the other side of the summer camp building, where there's a large sort of hangar bay.
That helicopter will bring you where you need to go,
she says. So you head over to the helicopter and jump inside. Immediately, the helicopter blades begin to spin. Another person inside says hello.
Ah, there. Well, you're gonna need this,
the man says, and he snaps a sort of harness around your body, a harness attached to a rope. The helicopter takes off, flies high above in the air, over top of both familiar and unfamiliar summer camps below, including one that looks like a giant pile of garbage. You still can't believe that's an actual summer camp. Soon, you come to a large ocean area, and the helicopter starts lowering itself down above what looks like absolutely nothing. Though when you get close enough to the water, you see something sticking up out of it, like a tiny island or the top of a submarine.
All right, you ready to go?
The man says. I guess so. How do I get down there?
Like this,
he says, giving you a little bit of a shove. You find yourself hanging by the harness and slowly being lowered down towards the submarine. When you're right above the platform, the harness detaches itself and you land on the ground, or, well, on the top of the sub anyways. There's a large metal hatch in front of you. It opens up, and it's none other than Pip.
Oh, you're here. That's amazing. Come this way,
Pip says. He leads you down the little hatch. There's a metal ladder that you make your way down and land on the ground.
This is our submarine. The bedrooms are this way.
Pip shows you to a series of small rooms at the back of the submarine. They're each pretty cozy, but they have everything you need. You throw your duffel bag on the bed and go for the rest of the tour.
Now, right in front of these are the mess hall area.
You see a sort of miniature kitchen in the middle, a fridge, stove, table to eat at, that sort of thing.
And up here is the control center. Oh, and this is our counselor, Marla.
Hello, Marla says. That's right. I am your counselor, and I'm here to make sure that you know what's going on, and also make sure that you don't wreck my submarine. Now,
As you know, the two of you will be the ones in charge, though I will be here to oversee things and, as I said, make sure you don't wreck the place."
"Cool," you respond.
"I believe it is. Now, it's time for you to have your first challenge. Go ahead and grab the controls."
You and Pip walk up to the front of the submarine, where you find 2 seats. Pip takes the one on the left, and you take the one on the right.
Now, you on the right there, you will be the pilot. In front of you is a sort of joystick that will allow you to steer the submarine, much like you would steer a plane or, well, control a video game. Beside you is a lever that controls your speed, and a lever that controls your depth. The depth lever can be pushed down to go down, or up to go up. Well, the speed control is, well, sort of obvious, I would think. You on the left, you are responsible for monitoring the systems and, well, controlling the weapons.
Wait a second, this thing has weapons?
Pip says.
Well, it may have weapons, it doesn't have them yet. That's actually part of the challenge. You must make your way through a series of challenges, collect a series of power crystals, and receive a series of new abilities, one of which might be weapons. It is weapons, actually. I'm not sure why I am being cryptic about that.
Wow, cool, Pip says. So, what's our first challenge?
Your first challenge is the obstacle course. If you would be so kind as to bring the submarine down, you will see what I'm talking about.
You look over the controls once again, and you find the one that controls the depth. You press down on the lever, and sure enough, the submarine starts to sink. You float down into the vast ocean until you come across an area that's, well, basically covered in a whole bunch of hula hoops or something. An obstacle course made up of floating hoops. You see narrow gates, upright poles that are anchored to the seabed, some of them moving back and forth as if you'll have to be perfect with your timing. Now, your goal is to make it through the obstacle course and receive your first crystal. Are you ready? Marla asks. I guess so, you and Pip say.
All right. Now, try not to wreck anything.
With that, the starting gate slides open. You ease the throttle forward and the sub begins to glide through the first gigantic hoop. For a moment, it feels pretty easy, until you angle towards the second hoop and a pole swings right in front of your path.
Left! Left!
Pip yells. You turn the controls just in time, missing the pole by probably centimeters. The submarine tilts slightly, and you feel your stomach follow. Halfway through, you hit a tricky section with 2 hoops and a moving gate between them. You slow down, watch it, time it, and then go for it, slamming the throttle forward. Unfortunately, the gate closes faster than you think. Burp, burp. A red light flashes.
Oh dear, Marla says. Looks like you've failed. Back to the start.
Pip groans. We're gonna be here all day. It takes you and Pip 3 more times, 2 of which involving minor collisions, but on the 4th run, you glide straight through the gate, skim past the last pole, and enter a wide bubble of still water. At the center floats a shimmering blue crystal pulsing with light. You ease forward, and the gem kind of just slides into the sub's intake chamber with a soft clink. On the console, a new icon lights up. Shields online. A faint shimmer surrounds the sub like a soap bubble in the sunlight.
Nice work, Marla says. Gem number 1 is secured. We now have basic sub shields. Now, let's see if you can keep from denting those shields on the next challenge.
You follow Marla's pointed finger to the nav screen, where a deep trench zigzags across the map like a scar on the ocean floor. At the far end, a pulsing orange dot marks the second gem.
This, Marla says, is the volcano zone. Plenty of thermal vents down there, but they're unpredictable, so watch for the warning signs. Bubbles, rumbles, sudden boiling water, that sort of thing. The shields will help, but I wouldn't test them on purpose.
Got it, you say. You use the throttle and the steering yoke to make your way towards the location. Pip peers at the sonar.
I'm reading multiple heat spikes up ahead. A lot of heat spikes.
The trench walls rise steep on either side as you descend. The water grows darker, lit only by faint bioluminescent creatures drifting in the shadows. Little jellyfish and fish with blinking lights on their side, that sort of thing. The first vent erupts ahead, blasting a column of steaming water and glowing rocks straight into the path. The sub-shields flare as stray pebbles hit, but you steer wide and wait for it to die down.
Timing is everything, Marla says. When you see one venting, look for the safe window.
You weave between 2 more eruptions, Pip calling out the counts like a race commentator. 3, 2, 1, go! You surge through just as the vent quiets. Halfway through the trench, a deep rumble shakes the controls.
That's a big one, Marla warns.
A vent to your left explodes early, a blast of bubbles roaring past the viewport. The current shoves you toward the trench wall. You grip the controls and dive sharply, scraping the shield against the rocky side. Pip's eyes are huge.
We almost got cooked there.
Almost, you agree. But I think we've got this. Finally, the trench widens into a glowing cavern. Streams of orange light drift upward from the sea floor, and in the middle, nestled in a cradle of rock, is the orange gem. Bright red and almost humming with energy. You inch forward, shields flaring against stray heat bursts, and the gem clicks into the intake chamber. A second new icon appears on the console.
Speed boost online. Marla grins. Now we're talking short bursts only. Too much and you'll spin us into the nearest wall. Pip leans back in his chair. The next challenge is gonna make us use it, isn't it? Oh, absolutely, Marla says. The map flickers as Marla uploads new coordinates. A jagged cluster of icons appears ahead. That, she says, is the wreck field. Old ships broken into pieces, narrow gaps, sharp metal, unpredictable currents. Oh, and the gem you're after, folks. It's in the very center. Pip makes a small noise that sounds suspiciously like a whimper. From a distance, the wrecks look like skeletons of enormous beasts, ribs of corroded steel and splintered wood sticking out of the sand. As you get closer, you see the real danger. Metal edges coated in barnacles and kelp, swaying just enough to look like they might snag you. Speed burst should help you zip through open spots, Marla says, but you'll have to be precise. Otherwise, she points at a jagged beam, one that looks like it's impaled another sub that looks just like yours. Were those people okay? You ask. Oh, I can't tell you that. But if I were you, I'd do my best to not end up like them, Marla says. Okay. You start in slow, weaving through a tilted cargo ship. A pair of playful dolphins darts in front of the sub, blocking your path. You pull back on the throttle right away, not wanting to hit them. Pip sighs. Why do they look friendly but act like meanies? He asks. You tap the throttle in short bursts, zipping past them before they can cut you off. The further you go, the tighter the spaces get. You squeeze between a battleship and a reef-encrusted mast, twisting the controls just enough to scrape past without hitting. Then, right before the center of the wreck field, something massive slams shut ahead of you. A giant clam, easily bigger than the sub. Pip's jaw drops. That's not a normal-sized clan. I think it's guarding something, you say. Marla leans over your shoulders. Weapons would be handy right about now, wouldn't they? You don't have them yet, unfortunately, so your only option is to wait, hovering just outside the reach of the giant clam. After a few tense moments, the clam opens up again. Inside, you see a small glowing pod sitting on the sand. The crystal. You have to time it perfectly. Boost forward, slip past the clam, and grab the pod with the sub's intake. And so, on the count of 3, you do just that. Hit the speed boost straight past the clam and suck the pod into the intake chamber before pulling up and speed boosting straight out of that place. The pod clicks into the chamber, revealing a glowing yellow button. On the console, a third icon lights up. Bubble torpedoes. Online. Marla grins. They're non-lethal, but they'll pack enough of a punch to knock a hole through wreckage, or knock the bloop on its tail. Pip presses a button,
watching a bubble torpedo launch in a harmless test shot.
Okay, he says. This is my new favorite thing.
Yes, Marla says, and we only have one upgrade left to grab. Before our final challenge, of course. She flips the nav display to a long, twisting canyon that looks like a scribble drawn by someone in a hurry. This, she says, is the speed tunnel. Strong currents, sharp turns, and of course a gem hidden.
Pip frowns. What if we don't make the turns in time?
He asks. Well, then we'll bounce off the walls until you learn, Marla says cheerfully. But I hope you don't do that because that would scratch my sub. And I don't like it when people scratch my sub.
All right. We'll be really careful then.
You approach the canyon mouth, a dark slit in the seafloor. Water rushes out in visible streams, swirling with sand and flecks of shell. All right, boost in, Marla orders. Short bursts, remember. Don't hold it down unless you like being a pinball. You time the first burst and shoot into the canyon. The walls whip past in a blur, the current tugging you toward the next bend. You crank the controls hard left, then right, skimming so close to the rock you can see tiny crabs clinging to the wall.
Up ahead, there's a tight squeeze,
Pip calls out. You fire another burst, slipping between two stone pillars before the current slams them shut behind you. The tunnel twists again, narrowing until it's barely wider than the sub. And finally, the current spits you into a small cavern. On the far wall, you spot it, a green gem. You move the sub towards it, and sure enough, the intake sucks it in, and a green button appears on the console. Grappling arm online.
All right, Pip says. Now I have control of weapons and a grappling arm.
Yes, Marla says, and just in time for the final challenge. The bloop.
The bloop, Pip says. What's a bloop?
Oh, well, a bloop is a very, very, very big fish, and he happens to be guarding the last thing that we need to get to. The treasure cavern, of course.
All right, now you're talking. Treasure cavern.
Now remember, Marla says, it's just a robot fish. No feelings, no fear. You can use everything you've got. But whatever you do, don't let it pin you. You follow Marla's directions until you come across a gigantic cavern. Sure enough, a shape emerges from the shadows, growing larger and larger until it fills the entire viewport. The bloop is massive, easily 10 times the size of the submarine. It has steel scales, glowing yellow eyes, and a tail fin that actually you're pretty sure is a propeller. Its wide metal jaws open with a low mechanical groan. It lunges forward. Shields, quickly, Marla says. You slam the button, and the sub's shimmering bubble flares as the bloop snout crashes into it. The impact rattles the controls and shoots the sub backwards, but you're able to get a hold of it. Boost to the right, Marla calls. You fling the controls right and hit the speed boost button, dodging around the side of the massive bloop. Pip swivels the weapon controls and launches a bubble torpedo, which slams into the Boop's tail, making it spin and stutter for a moment. The Bloop roars a deep mechanical roar and begins swimming towards you. It fires a volley of small drones from ports on its side. It has drones? Pip says. They zip through the water trying to ram the ship. Bubble torpedoes away, Pip shouts, and begins launching a whole bunch of them at the other little drones. The drones are peppered with shots, each one exploding into harmless foam as they're hit. The Bloop continues to charge towards you, faster and faster. You pull back on the controls and speed boost upwards, skimming over top of its back. You then see something glowing in the center of its eyes. "What's that thing?" you ask.
That is the control crystal. I recommend taking it out."
"Got it," you say, tilting the ship down towards the top of its head. Pip carefully aims the weapon system, and this time, instead of firing a bubble torpedo, he hits the grapple arm button. A mechanical grapple arm shoots out of the sub, attaches itself to the control crystal, and then Pip hits another button. The grapple arm pulls back, pulling the ship towards the Bloop. You pull back on the controls, reverse the thrusters, and eventually you hear a popping noise as the control crystal pulls itself out of the Bloop's head. The Bloop suddenly shuts down and floats sideways onto the ground. You, Marla, and Pip begin cheering in excitement and giving each other high fives, of course.
"All right, now we can make our way through the treasure tunnel."
You steer the ship forward, over top of the Bloop, and into the large cavern that the Bloop appeared from. This one isn't too difficult to navigate. Now that there's not a giant fish guarding it anyways. You loop left and right until you eventually come to a large cavern filled with air. You rise the ship up out of the water, and you and Pip climb out of the top of it. As soon as the hatch opens and you pop your head up, you see it. A treasure chest just sitting down there on the shore. You and Pip run across the top of the submarine, jump off onto the shore, and run towards the treasure chest. You open it up, and it's filled with gold and gems. You reach your hands in, scoop up a handful, and that's when you realize that these aren't really gold and gems. They're actually chocolate and, gem candy. They certainly look like gold and gems, but, to you, it's probably a better prize. You each unpeel some of the coins and take a bite. Chocolate's actually pretty good. You and Pip work together to grab a hold of the treasure chest and lift it back into the sub.
"Well, you've done very well on your first day of submarine camp. Now, let's see what tomorrow will bring,"
Marla says as you place the treasure chest down on the ground. After having your fill of candy, you and Pip say goodnight, and you climb into your tiny little bedroom. Luckily, the bed itself is very comfortable. In fact, it feels just like your bed at home. You cozy into the pillow, pull the covers up over top of yourself, and you close your eyes. With each breath, your mind begins to wander away, and your body sinks down deeper and deeper into the mattress, until before long, you find yourself drifting off to thoughts of new dreams and new adventures to come. Good night, everyone.